through the Pojo class you can achieve the encapsulation.
Okay. So what is static?
Yeah, static is a keyword.
Used for?
Used for, you can declare method as a static, you can declare the block also, and you can declare the variable as a static. So you have only one copy of that variable.
Okay, and why can you give me example where it is useful to use static?
Where it is useful to static. Okay. Mm, it is for example, the main method is a static, so you don't need to create an object. So because of the JVM loads that main methods only once, and it will you can call, yeah, you can call only the statics data in the static methods.
Okay. So what is a string? What is so unique about string?
Unique is string is immutable, and a string you can always use the string in the parameters, and when you are using the hash map also you are using the string, because string is immutable, so the hash code will be same.
Okay, and can you create any other classes immutable?
Yeah, you can create the other classes also.
How can we do it?
So you can declare the class as a finals, and also you have to declare the all the member variables as a private and finals, and you can declare the all the getter methods. You do not need to provide the setter methods of that. And if you are using any collections, then you can initialize that collection using the deep cloning. Yeah. uh, yes.
Okay. Say suppose I have a method,
Okay.
okay, and in that method I'm reading a password. Okay, password is secured, stored somewhere encrypted. So I'm reading from it, I'm decrypting, and with that password I need to do something only in the scope of that method.
Okay.
And then I return it back, return some response back. So here when you decrypt it, in which variable or in which data structure would you store it in that scope of the method? Which variable, which data type or data structure you would prefer?
I will prefer the string, because the string is immutable. That I'm yeah, I will use the string, because
Hmm.
first I will get the data, encrypted data, and then I will initialize the new string. I will decrypt it, and I will assign that decrypted string to the new variables of the string, and I will return that new string.
Okay. So where does this string is stored? Any string, if you declare, string s equal to some password or any other value, where is it stored?
Okay, so string is stored in the constant string pool, and if you are creating the duplicate string, then it will refer to the old that you have created.
Okay. And this pool in the memory, where does it reside?
It
What
is
part of memory?
yeah, it is resides in the heap under
Heap
the,
memory.
yeah.
And in the heap memory, do you think how often the heap memory is garbage collected or cleared?
Yeah, so the objects are object reference are null, then the JVM performs the garbage collections on the object. So the
Yeah.
unused object get deleted from the memory.
Yeah, but it will happen randomly, right?
Yes.
So do you think that now storing the password in a string, which will go in the string pool on a heap memory, which will be there for some time, right? Until it is garbage collected. Is it safe?
Yeah, uh, because your password is associated with that string, so it will not garbage collected, right? Only those objects are garbage collected, those having the reference are null.
Right. Now, because we created that string only in that scope of the method, okay, and now you are out of that method. So
Okay.
string reference is null,
Oh,
okay.
okay, okay.
So that values is still there in the heap memory. So is it safe? Is it secure?
Uh,
Okay.
I saw.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you prefer to use a string builder?
Yeah. Suppose you are using the mutable objects and you have to uh, edit or concatenated the string, then you can use the string builder.
Right. So instead of doing string str equal to high plus ram, I can use string builder. So what is the difference?
Yeah, string builder is actually synchronized, and you can uh, yes. It is fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
sir.
can do the same thing just by using plus operator. So my question is that what is the advantage that I get by using string builder rather than just simply concatenating high plus ram?
Mhm. Yeah. So the when you are okay. So the you when you are concatenating with the plus sign, then it will store into the constant string pool. But when you are using the string builder, then it will create that object into the heap, and that object is not means you can manipulate that object, but string
Hmm.
object is still final.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay. Um, what okay, what are the different types of exceptions that you have seen? And yeah, let's first start with that.
Yeah, so there is the null pointer exceptions, IO exceptions, file not found exceptions.
Okay, and what are these? Can you broadly categorize them?
So there are the two types of exceptions, check exception and uncheck exceptions. So check exception you can handle it on the compile time, and uncheck exception you can handle it in the runtime.
So do we also catch runtime or checked exceptions in the code? Unchecked exceptions in the code.
Yeah, you can catch the uncheck exception.
Is it a good practice?
Yeah, means if you are like return the custom exception, then you have to write you have to handle the that exceptions.
Okay, that's fine. So say suppose I have a client, okay, which calls a server, a method on a server. Now method A calls method B calls method C, okay, and method C has some logic. And method C returns response to method B, and method B returns response to method A, and method A returns it back to the client.
Okay.
Okay, this is like a chaining of methods.
Okay.
Now something goes wrong in method C. So how do you handle this?
Okay. So first you have to handle the exception with the throws, because the this is the propagation, and you can handle the check exceptions using the throws keyword, and you have to
Mhm.
also you can throw the your exception using the throw keyword. So if the C method is means it's throwing the exception, then the exception gets propagated, and it is thrown into the means method B will handle that exception. So in that,
Okay, so let's talk about first method C. Okay, so in method C you said throws exception, right? Where will this throws exception be written?
yeah, suppose yeah, it will propagate it means if you are not handled into the with the throws, then it will propagate it with the method B, and if the method B is not handled, then it will propagate to method A. So in
Right.
that, yeah.
So in method C, can you tell me what change I need to make code wise in Java? I just have a public string method C brackets. It has some parameters, and then it does some logic, and it has a return statement.
Uh,
So exactly where will you make that change to handle the exception?
okay. Okay. Public method C throws in front of the method bracket. You need to handle the throws, and suppose you are handling the IO exception. I mentioned over there the IO exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
and in the curly bracket the throw new. If you are handling the custom exception or custom class, you can throw that exceptions through the throw keyword in the method in the method.
In the method, where will I write this throw new?
You can in the method you can throw new, you can write anywhere throw new, and you can throw the exception.
Right, but I want to. So basically, if something happens in the code, right? So I need to handle it.
Okay.
I don't want to throw exception based on some condition, like, if input not found, then throw not found or not
Okay, okay,
implemented
okay.
exception. Yeah.
Got your question. So suppose I have the condition, and I am checking that string s1 is equal to 0, then throw new the custom exception class.
Right. So
Yeah.
this is on condition based.
On
Say
condition
some
based.
condition based.
Yeah.
Now say something that say you have some logic, okay,
Mhm.
in the code. You are doing some file operations, or you are doing some arithmetic operations or something.
Okay.
And here, how do you throw the exception? Like, you want to also do something, like you also want to log the exception error and then throw. So how do you do it?
Yeah, you can do the e.print stack trace, and you can
Yeah, but where exactly do I write that code? E.print stack. Try catch.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Try. So every code, you write in try, right? And
Yeah.
then in the catch.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So in the catch exception, you would log, right?
Yes.
So tell me about logging. How do you log that exception or any message?
Yeah. So you can suppose the e.print stack trace you can do, or you can so you want to write the custom message, or you want to
I can do both, right? I can write some exception occurred, exception message, right? So how do I create that? How do I log it? What logger do I use? How do I configure a logger? All that.
Okay, okay.
If you can explain.
Okay. So first you have to configure the log4j in your application. So you have to add the dependencies in your project, and log factory provides the some methods, so you can just log factory dot log, you can log dot debug, or you can use that in your code.
Okay, and how do you configure the log4j. Have you ever seen that configuration file? Like where will it write?
Yeah.
Where will it log? So you need to configure it.
So yeah, in the application properties file, you have to mention the log4j, log4j, like where it is you are going to debug, or you have to enable that, and where that log is going to generate the locations, you have to mention in the properties file.
Okay. Okay. What about appender?
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Appenders. So what about appenders? In log4j, we also configure appenders?
Yeah, sorry, I am not recalling right now.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, so how do you serialize an object in Java?
Yeah, you have to implement the serializable interface, and you can serialize any object.
That is it. Anything else required?
And you have to provide you can use the getter and set method, and you can save the current state of the object.
Okay, and do you know any APIs or services that we can use to actually write?
Yeah,
Or
there is
yeah.
the right external interface is there, so you can use the you can customize the exceptions, customize the serialization.
Okay. Okay. So do you know what is a marker interface?
Yeah. Clonable and serializable are the marker interface. They don't have any methods in that
So
interface.
if they don't have anything, then why do we really need a marker interface?
Actually, when you implement that interface, then they notify to JVM that this is the marker interface.
Okay. What are annotations?
Annotations, okay. Annotations are nothing but like the classes or the codes you can implement you also implement your own annotations, and you can use in your application.
Okay, but what is it used for?
Yeah, it minimizes the code, like in previously we have to write the all the classes. Suppose for example at the rate control annotation. Suppose previously we need to redirect the request to the redirect request manually, and so the controller class provides the features. So they actually they are nothing but the classes internally they have written, so we don't need to write it explicitly, the code for that.
Okay. Okay. So what are the tell me something about factory design pattern.
Okay, so factory design pattern means, suppose you want to create the object when it is required, then you can use the factory design pattern. Firstly, you have to implement one interface, and you can suppose there are the classes. Suppose I am taking the examples. There is an interface, and I have implemented the area method, and there are the multiple classes like the rectangle, square. So I will use the another class and use the switch case statement, and whenever it is required, I will return the instance of that classes. Suppose I want to instantiate the rectangle instance, then I will pass the values to that switch case.
Okay, so why don't we just do simple, wherever you need it, just create a simple rectangle, variable name equal to new rectangle. Why do you have to go to a factory and get the instance? What is the benefit? What is the problem that it actually solved, the factory pattern?
Factory pattern means, suppose in that scenario, suppose I am in the rectangle or the square, so I am directly creating the object. So if there is no need of that object, still I am going to create it, right? But in the factory pattern provides that feature, so you are passing the that values, and whenever it is required in your code, then only you are going to create that object. So
Even in the factory you are creating, right? Always, if rectangle, then rectangle equal to new rectangle, right?
Yes.
Same code I'm writing in my other class. Why do I say factory dot get rectangle? Okay, that's fine. So, say suppose I have a system, okay, and my backend is calling a database,
Okay.
or not a database. Let's say my backend is calling another third-party system. It is integrating with another third-party system. Okay, I'm asking for some data from some third-party system, and then I want to use that data or convert that data and send it back to my UI. So what would you prefer, and what is the design pattern that you would apply here? So what would you prefer? I mean that this third-party system returns the data in a format that third party understands, right? Okay. So you will just use it as is and pass it to in your application, or you will do something with that data, and there is a pattern for that.
Sorry, I don't remember the pattern, but yeah, if you are returning, suppose the format like the JSON, then you can extract that JSON using the JSON jar, or you can convert that JSON object into the Java object, and you can return that object into the UI.
Okay. So say suppose now you are connecting to one of the third-party integration systems. Now there is a requirement that you also want to fetch data from another system. Okay, and that another system sends you a different kind of data now. But your backend system is same. You are requesting similar data, but from one system the format is different, the second system format is different. And in future you can also connect to different formats, right? Different systems. So how do you handle this in your system? Like if you don't know the pattern, that's fine, but can you tell me exactly the design also that you can use here?
Okay, so you are saying that the new systems returning the new different pattern, like that we are not currently are using.
Yeah, so my system talks to different third party or external systems. Every external system sends me data in their format. Okay, and I want to use that data and show it to my UI, show it in my UI.
Okay.
So how can I design the system in my backend so that I don't have to go back and keep changing my client and my backend every time there is a new system? Right, say my first system gives me A, B, C. So I go to my UI and I said A field in the HTML display A text, A value, B text, B value, C text, C value. Now the second system tells no, I will give D. So you again go to server and UI and now add D, right?
Okay, for that, suppose you can design the backend. Suppose you are getting the different types of data from the third-party system, then you can consume the like media type. You can change the media type like JSON, and also accept the XML also. And according to that, you have to suppose there is the XML, then you can write a separate class and you can extract that XML. And suppose that is a JSON, then you can use the different class and extract that methods, and you can return that object to your UI.
Okay, so okay, that's fine. So what is this pattern called? You're not sure, right?
No, I'm not sure.
So do you know adapter pattern?
Yeah, adapter pattern.
Do you think we can use it here?
Yes, we can use it.
Yes. So the only change that will happen is always in your one single layer, which is your adapter layer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what about singleton?
Yeah, singletons means it return only the one instance for JVM. And suppose you have to declare the private constructor, and you have to declare one method, the synchronize method, and you have to return that instance, and you can call that class and instantiate the object. You can get that object.
Okay, I see. Okay, so strategy pattern, how do you use it, and give me example where it'll benefit you.
Sorry, I'm not remember.
Okay. Say suppose now I have okay, so I'm building web services. Okay, and now I am exposing my web services to my clients. Okay, and say someone is using my web service, and now I'm doing some changes in the next release. Okay, and now I've changed some schema in my web service. In one of my web services, I've changed some schema. Okay, and now if I release it, my client will break, right? Because it has built his code using the older schema. So how do I take care of these kind of changes in my web services so that my older clients do not break? Do you know about versioning?
Yeah, I know the versioning.
So do you think we can use versioning of web services here?
Yeah, we can use it.
Can you explain?
Yeah, version is like when you are currently changing your code and frequently release or deploy your code on the servers, then you have to maintain the release also. So so you can delete the snapshot, and you can use the release version of your code.
Okay, so do you think versioning will help here? How do you know how we can version web services endpoints?
Versioning. So you can you can change your code into your latest version, and you can ask the client to change your code also, because we have implemented this feature in your current release. So you can use this release for our latest code.
Okay, that's fine. So